Let's watch this video. Let's watch this video. This was Tesla's presentation last night. I don't know how many people watched this, but I watched some of it and I was absolutely blown away by what they got up their sleeve and what they're rolling out right now. So, you think of a company like Tesla, and I was thinking about this today. Like, if you watch this video, if you watch everything that they did at this announcement last night, this is how companies should be doing things. This is how marketing should be. Like, yes, I know I couldn't imagine how much they paid to put on this production, but this really reminds me of how revolutionary Apple was like 10, 15 years ago. When Steve Jobs would go up on stage, he'd have his black turtleneck on and he'd be showing all the different features. Like, nobody else was doing that at that time and putting it on the internet for everybody to see, having their products out there. Like, nobody else really was doing that. And I think now you look at a company like Tesla, they are doing this at a much bigger scale. And you compare that to other companies, like big public companies, there's just so much redundance in some of those companies. They've just gotten too comfortable with the status quo, and they just piss away so much money on the stupidest things. Whether that's I know I don't think my buddy watches this show, so I can kind of throw him. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but like, one of the guys in our golf league, he works for a public company, big public company. And in the 5 years I've been golfing with him, he's used nothing but brand new Pro V1 golf balls, which cost about $8 or $9 each, with the brand of the company on it. And I've never seen him use anything else. Me, on the other hand, I don't think I've bought golf balls in my entire life. I find balls and use them, or get gifts or whatever it is. But just that alone, that's a very small sample of like how these big companies work. They just piss away so much money on nothing because they've always just had their stake, their claim there in the status quo. So I can't imagine how many balls he's gone through. This is one employee of theirs. And then you compare that to Tesla and what they spend their money on it. I think that this was so incredibly well done. And I want to talk about, we're going to watch this. We're going to watch the robots that they rolled out. And then I want to talk about it. I think that because I have my opinions on it and my first thoughts on it, but then I actually reflected on it a little bit. And I really want to tie in some of the stuff that we've been talking about on the show with what they're rolling out here. So let's watch this. We'll probably watch about 5 minutes of it, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of it, and then we'll talk about it. So this was from their announcement last night. And I hope we're starting in the right spot here, but I think it might just be kind of randomized. But anyways.
Compute, you have 100 gigawatts of compute, which is really quite substantial. Will be somewhat overspec. Be capable of full autonomy unsupervised. And that means that our cost of producing the vehicle is low. Now, we are going to actually overspec the computer for the Cybercab. So our AI5 computer will be somewhat overspec'd. And because I think there's actually also an opportunity, sort of like in Amazon Web Services, where if the car is driving for 50 hours a week, there's still over 100 hours left. And there's a potential there to have a massive amount of distributed inference compute, where if you've got, like, say, a fleet of 100 million vehicles and a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you have 100 gigawatts of compute, which is really quite substantial. And if it's there, you might as well use it. So yeah, so that I think will make sense. So, all right. So our autonomous future is here. As I said, we've got 50 Teslas.
Okay, I was going to wait to the end to kind of touch on a few things, but I don't want people to forget what he's talking about here. So he just said that the vehicles there are going to they overspec, which means they put more power into them than they really need. So he said 100 gigawatts of compute there. And he said if it's there, you might as well use it. So just tie that into kind of everything within Bitcoin and everything that we've been talking about in terms of, mining Bitcoin, running a node. Like these are going to be things that are possible in a vehicle, or giving it to, allocating that compute power to an AI infrastructure, like AI infrastructure, something like that, where you have this car, it's driving, but you have all this additional computation power that you can put to use, and you can monetize that. He didn't say any of that. He didn't mention Bitcoin, but like that's what comes to my mind in terms of what they're going to be able to do with these. And don't get me wrong, I don't love the fact that the electric vehicles are using batteries, but the technology is there. And if it's powered by something, I think that in the future, it's going to be powered by like a very small micro nuclear power, which is a lot more, a lot better than digging this lithium out of the world. But anyways, it's about the technology, it's about the compute power. That's what I wanted to focus on there.
Driving autonomously. We're trying to give you a sense of what cities will be like in the future. And when you get in, you'll see like it's really quite a wild experience to just be in a car with no steering wheel, no pedals, no controls, and it feels great. So, and we have enough vehicles here, so everyone should be able to try it out and experience the set that we've built here. It's a very big set, so it's like really we've used I don't know, 20, 30 acres or something like that. It's really big. So it goes on, the ride's long. And we set it up to feel like a ride, like a park ride. So it'll be cool. And you'll get to experience it tonight. Something we're also doing is, and it's really high time we did this, is inductive charging. So the robotaxi has no plug. It just goes over the inductive charger and charges. So yeah, it's kind of how it should be. Thanks, guys. I love you too. So one of the things that is really interesting is how will this affect the cities that we live in? And when you drive around a city, or when the car drives you around a city, you'll see there's a lot of parking lots. There's parking lots everywhere. Parking garages. And so what would happen if you have an autonomous world is that you can now turn parking lots into parks. And so we're taking the ing lot out of parking lot. Welcome. So there's a lot of opportunity to create green space in the cities that we live in. So that would be quite fantastic. Oh, and also, what happens if you need a vehicle that is bigger than a Model Y? The Robovan. The Robovan is we're going to make this, and it's going to look like that. Now, can you imagine going down the streets and you see this coming towards you? That'd be sick. So this can carry up to 20 people, and it can also transport goods. So you can configure it for goods transport within a city, or transport of up to 20 people at a time. So this is the Robovan is what's gonna solve for high density. So if you want to take a sports team somewhere, or you're looking to really get the cost of travel down to, I don't know, 5-10 cents a mile, then you can use the Robovan. Some people call it the Robovan, but so yeah. One of the things that we want to do, and we've seen this with the Cybertruck, is we want to change the look of the roads. The future should look like the future. So, speaking of robots, so everything we've developed for our cars, the batteries, power electronics, the advanced motors, gearboxes, the software, the AI inference computer, it all actually applies to a humanoid robot. It's the same techniques. it's just a robot with arms and legs instead of a robot with wheels. And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started with someone in a robot suit, sort of down, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year. So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular, something that anyone could own. So you can have your own personal R2-D2 C3PO. And I think at scale, this would cost something like, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000. Probably less than a car is my prediction long term. Now, take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll be able to do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I think this will be the biggest product ever of any kind. Yeah.
Okay, this is the important part here, and it's funny because what he's about to say here is so crazy to a lot of people that listen to what he says and then listen to the reaction of the crowd. It basically, nobody really comprehended what he's saying here.
Because I think everyone, of the 8 billion people of Earth, I think everyone's going to want their Optimus buddy. And there's going to be maybe two. And then they'll be producing products and services. I predict, actually, provided we address risks of digital superintelligence, 80% probability of good outcome. Look on the bright side. The cup is 80% full. The cost of products and services will decline dramatically, and basically anyone will be able to have any products and services they want. It will be an age of abundance, the likes of which people have almost no one has envisioned. It'll be something special. So now one of the things we wanted to show tonight basically anyone will be able to have any products and services they want. It will be an age of abundance, the likes of which people have almost no one has envisioned. It'll be something special. So now one of the things we
Okay, couple things there. Couple things. First of all, wow. That is insane. The cars, self-driving cars. So, okay, I'm gonna maybe touch on a few things, and then I'm gonna talk about like my spin on it and what I thought of when I watched this stuff. So the self-driving cars. But did you see that other thing, like the transportation for like a party bus or transporting goods or teams? Like how incredible would that be? It will be. So, and then you got the robots there, and he said that 80%, they're quite certain it's going to do good. I mean, the could go wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that having robots walking around the earth is going to be a good thing. But at the same time, what he said there is that people are going to, in the future, people are going to be able to have whatever products and services they want. And because that's such a shock from what we have today, where people can barely afford to put food on their table and people are literally living outside on the street, that's where we are today. And he's talking about a world where anybody will be able to have any product or service that they want. And he's not joking when he says that, but the disconnect there is that people don't understand is that the only way that happens is when we move from the fiat world onto a Bitcoin standard. That's the only way that works. And he understands what's coming here. He's way far ahead of me and way far ahead of anybody that I know. But he understands that that's coming. And the reason why that's going to happen is because if you think about the fiat system, the small group of people who have the ability to print money and control things, and the people like us who go to work and pay taxes to pay those people, when that disappears, and when that's how the system has been run for as long as we can remember it. But you replace that. You replace the fiat with Bitcoin. You replace the big governments with small governments. You replace people going to work with those things. Then what happens? Is everybody going to be broke, fighting robots, wanting their job back? No. Those things are going to be able to do what humans don't want to do today. Even though we're getting paid for it, we feel like we're, adding value to the world for ringing through groceries. Robots are going to replace those jobs. Those robots, between AI and robots, most people's jobs are going to be replaced. And so what does the world look like at that point? Well, some people might think, a horror show. Some people might think worst case, but think about that. If you didn't have to go to work and bag groceries for 10 hours a day to barely survive, to barely be able to afford food and gas and electricity, think about the other side of that. And the only way that's going to work is through hard money, Bitcoin, scarce asset. And so it's coming. Elon knows that. And the beautiful thing, so kind of what I was thinking, I was like, okay, $30,000. Am I going to want a robot? I don't know. But you also have to have the mindset of $30,000 today and where you are in your position is going to look a lot different in 10 years if you hold on to your Bitcoin and you have that as your purchasing power. So that's number one. He said anybody's going to be able to afford anything that they want. But to me, when I saw those things, first of all, I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to own a self-driving car probably in my lifetime. Even though they're going to be available, I don't really trust it, to be honest with you. I watched The Office where even Google Maps, like the GPS, it took a route and it drove the car right into it wasn't self-driving, like Michael Scott, I think, was driving it. But it took a wrong turn and they were following the map and they went right into a lake. So for me, I probably won't ever be in a situation where I'm going to have a self-driving car. Maybe, but it's going to take a lot of trial and error before I put myself in one of those cars. But I was thinking maybe I'll just live here in the country. Maybe I'll own one of those cars, but I'll just leave it in the city and it'll be like my employee. Do you see kind of where my vision is for this? And so you buy a car, assuming we're going to have a lot of wealth in the future if we're owning the asset that everybody wants. And so you don't need to live in that world, but you can be a beneficiary of it, or beneficiary. And, in 50 years, 100 years, I have no idea where we're going to be. So I can't think that far ahead. But just in terms of my life right now and what I would want, I think that would make a lot of sense. To live in the country, drive an old car that nobody's tracking, and rent out your car in the city. And not only rent it out to give people rides, but the compute power there. You can sell some of your power to maybe mine Bitcoin in the trunk, or sell it, point it towards an AI company, something like that, right? The cars are going to be totally different in the future. They're not going to be a money suck. They're going to actually be an investment for the people who can afford it. And then past that, he's thinking way far ahead here. But that's kind of where I was thinking about that. And so even if you go a step further, and let's say that we did adopt this technology, let's say I did get a self-driving car and I got a robot he's holding my notes here for me to watch. He's bringing me a new coffee right now. He's feeding Arnie. Let's say I go down that road. Keep in mind here, and this is another thing that we've been talking about on the show, is that you're going to be able to own that data, right? It seems like a very scary, futuristic horror show of a world that we're going to be living in. But if we go to where we want to go in terms of the open source, then you're actually going to own that data. So you're going to have a robot and he's going to bring me coffee, and he's going to know that this is my third cup of coffee today. Maybe he makes coffee in his stomach. Who knows? But so he's going to say, okay, this is George's third cup of coffee. In the current world today, that information would be sent to a centralized server and sold to other companies. But the world that we're moving into here, the decentralized open source world that we're moving into here, I'm going to be able to say, okay, this is my third cup of coffee. All that data is going to go towards my Start9 server. It's going to be held there. And at the end of every week, I'm going to be able to look through all my data, how many cups of coffee I had, how many times we fed Arnie, how many times, I don't know, how much TV I watched during the week, right? What websites I visited. I'm going to be able to look at all that data and sort through it and say, okay, well, I'd rather keep this stuff private, but I'm okay selling this stuff. So that's how people are going to make money with this kind of stuff. It's not going to be going to work and begging groceries. It's going to be just living, doing whatever you want to do. And the further ahead you can get of this, the more you're going to benefit from it. But this is going to be people's reality. And so you're going to be able to look at your data and you're going to say, okay, this is what I want to be able to, I'm okay sharing this with people. Like the amount of coffee I drink in a day, I don't mind sharing that. My internet history, I don't really care for people seeing that, to be honest with you. Regardless if it's good or bad, I don't need people seeing that. So I get to decide that, though. That's where I'm going with this. I get to decide that. So I can say, okay, here's all my data. And then you put it up for auction to the companies who are interested in obtaining that data from you. And so they'll give you, 1,000 sats for it then. And that's going to pay your expenses for the week. I mean, I don't know what more you want. That's the thing. And that's kind of like the main message of today for the show. We're an hour and 36 minutes, and I think this is the longest YouTube video we've done so far. We're not done yet either. It's Friday. I wish I did have a robot here because I would love another cup of coffee. But the point of this is that focus on that. Focus on the good. Don't see a robot. Don't see the stuff and think like the worst case. Understand that we're moving in the right direction here, not the wrong direction. We have the ability to control that. And it's kind of, we can help it or we can hurt it, but either way, it's going that direction. So just understand that. And no matter what is going on in your life financially or whatever it is that's stressing you out, just think about that. Just enjoy the fact that we're here, that we get to be part of this whole thing, part of this transition into this crazy fucking world. But just don't worry too much about it, because in 10 years from now, none of it's going to matter. How much debt, how much money you owe right now is not going to matter then. It's not. And it's very hard to comprehend that and to truly believe that in your stomach. But it's the truth. Because we're still valuing everything. We're still living in this fiat world, it's dead. People just haven't realized that yet. So the more you can understand that, the less you worry about that, the more you focus on where we're going here, and the more you can set yourself up for that world, the better off you're going to be. But you have the ability to control that yourself in terms of up here, right?